Hi, Savannah.
All right, Clarky.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Fantastic. Well, obviously, it's fantastic that you're doing this for us. So we really appreciate it. Obviously, we're live on the college Facebook page. So obviously, anything we say is going to go live to them. So fantastic. So really thank you for joining us, Savannah, who is the current WBA super middleweight intercontinental champion. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Fantastic. Um, how are you coping with lockdown? How are you doing it with the training? How's it going?
I struggled a little bit first, but now I'm into a bit of a routine. I'm quite enjoying it, to be fair.
Training on your own, is that something you enjoy?
No, just like I said, just the routine. I'm staying at my mum's, and she lives in Greetham, just outside of Hartlepool. So there's some nice walks, some nice like running routes. Yeah, and I've got a couple of kettlebells and hand weights and stuff, so I'm not doing too bad.
So how do you find the motivation? How's that? Because some people I know I'm talking to, obviously, they're really struggling with the motivation. The coaching that they get from people is like motivates them. How are you doing that? How's that motivating you?
Well, for me, if I don't train, I get really agitated and like restless, irritated. People start annoying me. So training's a bit of a, a stimulant for me. Like I actually like training. And like I said, I've got myself in a routine. So I normally train about 2 o'clock after my dinner. So it's just become way life.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And obviously, we're not used to these unprecedented times, so it shows the why probably why you are at the level you're at because you have that motivation. So if we take you back right to the beginning, why boxing?
I first started when I was 11, and I literally just followed a few friends into the gym. There was no one in my family who ever boxed. I cannot ever remember watching boxing on telly or being interested in it. I just literally followed some friends into the gym.
But it's not. Is that really a given for a young 11-year-old to go to a boxing gym? I think that's why boxing with all the other sports, not the conventional sports that we talk about for girls. Why boxing?
No, no, no. I think it was because I'd done football, I'd done netball, I'd done. I think I'd done a little bit of karate when I was a lot younger. So I'd done everything else. So it was just something that I hadn't done. And I was just a bit curious.
So when you first started, then how many hours a week did you go?
So when I first started, you were only allowed to go on a Monday, and it was a 2 hour session, half 5 till half 7. And then when you got a little bit better, they asked you to come on the Wednesday as well. And then when you got a bit better, they asked you to come on the Friday. So it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
So it became a progression from just starting
Mm,
out, seeing who wants to start, and then obviously as you got better, it
yeah.
obviously helped you. So then you were training 3 nights a week. What was that like for a young teenage girl at secondary school? 3 nights a week. That's quite dedicated. That.
Yeah. I loved it. I just, although it's an individual sport, I love the training. I love being a part of it. So even though, like I said, it's an individual sport, you all train together. Everything's a competition. Who can hit the punch bag the most in 30 seconds, or we used to do runs around the headland, against the clock, stuff like that. Um, but like I said at the start, it just become a way of life. Like because I loved it that much. It wasn't about, oh, I've got to go to the gym, or oh, I can't go tonight because I've got this on. It was always, oh, well, I'll do that after I've been training. Oh, I've got training tonight, so how about I go on a Tuesday type thing?
Was there any prejudice at school, or did people not know?
My close friends knew. I never ever told anyone. I was always like really painfully shy, so I'd never talk about it. But once I started going, and obviously I become friends with a lot of the lads that used to go to the boxing gym. So obviously they'd go to my school and things like that. So people, like, after a while, just started to talk about it and stuff, but never really I wasn't really interested in what anyone thought, so it never bothered me.
That's class. So then obviously you left school and I know you came to the college to do 2-year BTEC. Was sport something that interested you as well as a theoretical side of it?
No, not really. I remember when I first left, I was obsessed with the film Flashdance and I wanted to be a welder. So I went to an open night at the FE to do welding, and I was the only girl on the course. And my mum come with me, and she was going, "No, you're not doing this. You're going to be the only girl. You'll not have no friends." So I ended up doing the sport because all my friends from school, a couple of my friends were on the thingy, so I kind of just followed suit.
That's brilliant. But then, so how was the college? How did you find that?
I loved it. The college were very supportive. So when I got to about 17, that's when I just started breaking onto the England squad and getting noticed. And the college were really supportive, and they'd let me have time out to go to tournaments, whatever. I got put on this scholarship scheme called TAS. I don't know if it's still about now. I think it might have finished.
Maybe,
It was Talented Athlete Scholarship Scheme, and I used to have to go to Middlesbrough every Tuesday. So I remember Dave used to let me go an hour early to get the train to Middlesbrough, so that the college were very supportive.
How did you find the lessons, as in the theory lessons and studying while doing, obviously just breaking through? Because obviously breaking through and studying probably hard.
Yeah, it was hard, but like I said, the college always give me a little bit of leeway because they'll understand, so if I was out of the country at a tournament, I might be a bit late with coursework and deadlines and stuff like that. But through the college and obviously the course I was on, I started to learn why I was actually doing things. So obviously when I was going training, they were telling us to do this type of training or sprints. I just used to get on and do it, and I never knew why we needed short bursts of high intensity, or I never knew why we needed the long runs or weight training. So I started to learn that on the course I was on.
So thinking about going back to, because obviously I remember the time, obviously I wasn't teaching at the time, but I remember you starting. Is there anyone that inspired you through the teaching stuff?
Yeah, obviously, we always remember Sharon just being very no nonsense, but she'd always have
It still is.
she had like very dry no nonsense sense of humour, which was it was great. She had good banter, and also Sean was very supportive, and Dave, because they were the three tutors at the time.
I mean, obviously we try to support all the students, but as you say, and obviously then you left college, and obviously then how did you find leaving college? What were your ambitions leaving college?
So basically, when I left college, it had just been announced that female boxing was going to be in the 2012 Olympics. So it was it got brought on as a kind of a bit like a national sport under the lottery. So it was lottery funded. So leaving college, I went straight on to Team GB, where I trained at Sheffield at the Institute of Sport Monday to Thursday every week. So I basically left college and got put on this program where I was getting a full wage basically just to train. So at the time, I don't think I never really looked past college. I was kind of a here and now. Well, I am a here and now type of person. But because I had this opportunity, I never ever thought, oh, what else can I do, or what can I do when, if it doesn't, my boxing career doesn't work out, or if it's short lived or anything like that.
So when you went to Sheffield, was that hard travelling, or did you live up there?
Yeah, so we lived there Monday to Wednesday night, and then come home on Thursday.
Who were the coaches there? Was McCracken there then?
Yeah, so Rob was the head coach then. He still is now.
I mean, obviously he's high profile. Obviously, coaching Anthony Joshua at this time. How was he as a coach?
Yeah, he's a really good coach. At the time, he had Carl Froch, who was like big time then. But when I got on the squad, Joshua was on. He was just coming through. There was James DeGale was there, Caliafai. So it was all the that like Olympic cycle was all on the squad then.
Did any of them, obviously seeing them train, was that an inspiration, or were you all really driven and you're thinking, I deserve to be here, that sort of thing?
No, not really. I don't know if I was just naive or I just love training and I just love boxing. So just to get on there, and I was thinking, oh, this is all right. I'm getting paid to do something I like. Do you know,
I mean,
yeah.
it's everyone's dream, isn't it, to do something that you're obviously paid to do, something that you love. There was a Sky Sports Scholar. You were one of the first of them, weren't you? How did that work?
So basically, I qualified for the Olympic Games. Things didn't go too well, and I got put out of the tournament in the quarters, so I just missed out on a medal. And Sky Sports were doing this program where they were taking on athletes for the next Olympic cycle for Rio, and they were quite interested in my story. How I was ranked #1 going into the Olympics, and I was tipped for a gold medal, and it never happened. So anyway, I ended up getting on the Sky Scholarship program.
So flipping back, because obviously in the January in 2012, you became a world champion. What sort of feeling was that like?
It was in the May, it was, and it was amazing because it was just so hard to qualify. Like for me, I had to get to the final to cement my Olympic spot because there was only 3 Europeans qualified, three from Asia, 3 from the Americas, and going into the semi-final there was I think there was 4 Europeans. So to actually cement my place, I had to get the final.
So did that build extra pressure for you? Or did you thrive on the pressure?
I think it was, for me, it was just either, if I don't do it, then it's going to be the end of the world type thing.
And then am I right in thinking that on the way there you beat Clarissa Shields on the way to winning the World Championships?
Yeah, I think I boxed Clarissa in the prelims, so it was quite early on in the tournament.
Because obviously I've seen a bit of banter between you and her now, because obviously with her being world champion and you, is that real banter, or is it tension that you really want that?
Well, it's funny how it worked out because she only qualified because she lost to the winner. So if I hadn't won that tournament, she would have never qualified for the Olympic Games. But then she went on to win, double gold. So it's a bit funny how it worked out. But I've learned quite early on, since I turned pro, that it's a business, and if you don't have an Olympic medal, it's a really hard business. So my kind of calling is, I've got to win over the 2-time Olympic champion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
with Chelsea. But obviously, it's great to see the banter on Twitter. Obviously, you at this side of the country and her at that side of the country. And then obviously, you did go on to the Olympics, and it didn't go how you wanted. And I remember watching that fight, and it was very, very dubious. And obviously, we know how the scoring went. How did that make you feel?
Well, I've only recently watched that fight, and it was about 3 weeks ago, and that was the first time I've watched it. And wow. I just can't. At the time, I just didn't want to be there. I couldn't handle the pressure at all. It was far too much for me. I've never experienced like anxiety like it.
Was that the pressure going in as #1?
Yeah.
Favourite for gold? Do you think that? Do you think if you hadn't have been favourite, it would have been easier?
Maybe, but looking back now, I think there was something like 20,000 people there, and the most I'd ever boxed in was about 1,000. So even the atmosphere and everything was just 100 times anything I'd ever. And being like quite shy and keeping myself to myself, it was just far too much for me.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, so it was just too much for me.
So you're looking at the anxiety you talked about there. Did that really play on your mind? Is that something, obviously psychology is massive in boxing. So is there anything anyone's done to overcome that?
Well, we had a psychologist at Team GB, but I think it's just what works for you. And it was when I turned pro, I ended up moving to America, and then something just clicked in my head. And since then, I've never had nerves. I've never experienced anxiety around boxing since. And it was just one day, it was just like a light switch that had been turned on. And it
By
all just
yourself,
went.
or so it was just yourself?
Just myself, yeah. And it just all went.
That's obviously unbelievable. And then obviously, so you come away from that disappointment. How did you motivate yourself to get going again for obviously the next cycle, which was the Commonwealth Games in 2014?
I think so. The next cycle, 2012 to 2016, was really tough on me. For me, looking back now, I think you only get a life expectancy on like a Great Britain program. Like for the men only have 2 or 3 years, win an Olympic medal, then they turn pro. Whereas then that option really wasn't there for women. There was no recognition. There was no money in female pro boxing. So I decided to stay for another 4 years, but then 4 years were just so tough. I was constantly getting injured, and motivation wasn't there. I was going to tournaments and getting beat off people who really weren't even on my level, and it was all just through to I had no like stimulation. I was boxing the same people every week, and I started to lose love for the sport.
So how did you gain that back? Was that through, obviously you went on to win Commonwealth gold, so did that not even keep you going?
Yeah, it did. It did. But I think through the disappointment of 20 London, I think it was a bit of, well, I've got nothing else to do now. I've put most of my life into boxing. It's not like I can just walk away. So I decided to stay for another 4 years. So it was kind of, well, I've got nothing else to do, so I may as well, have another try. But yeah, I won the Commonwealth gold, which was kind of a step down for the Olympics. So it showed that I'd matured in that way.
So if you obviously you won the Commonwealth gold, but you go back to London 2012, what sort of like how big was that? To be an Olympian is like any kid's dream, I think. But obviously to go into a London home Olympics, and as you said, fighting in front of 20,000, is there something that you think that's really I've made it sort of thing?
Well, at the time, like I said, I just didn't want to be there. And as soon as I got beat, I went home the next day. I just didn't enjoy it at all. And when I got home, I remember getting through my front door and thinking, oh, thank God that's over. And it was only till about 12 months later, it started to hit me of how much of an opportunity that I'd missed, give away.
But going back, do you think you give it away? Because it's obviously boxing's subjective, and I'd say I watched the fight, and obviously reminisce. You didn't probably deserve to lose, so it was more subjective. That the judges were a bit with them, like what happened.
Yeah, because like I said, I've only watched that about 3 weeks ago, and I've watched it a couple of times, and now I can't see no way that I got beat in that fight. I think it was really unfair, really unfair. And looking back now, I think, well, why? What made me different from Clarissa, who went on to win gold?
Yeah.
So it is a really unfair sport.
And then obviously, I just want to obviously kick on a bit. So obviously, you went to Rio, and obviously, talk us through what happened at Rio.
So
how was that different away from the pressure of London?
So at Rio, things had changed, like women's boxing had come on. So the first cycle, there was only one qualifier to qualify. This time there was two. So like I said, them 4 years had been up and down. I won the Commonwealths, and then I got beat first round in the World Championships, and then I won the Europeans, and I got beaten. It was just constantly like up, down, up, down. So getting to the qualifiers, I boxed a girl who I'd previously boxed 5 times over and won. Anyway, I got beat first round. Again, I thought I was kind of cheated out of that. And then so I got picked to go to the second qualifier, and then again I thought, right, this is do or die again. This is my last chance. And I managed to get to the semi-finals, so I got a bronze in the World Championships, and I qualified.
So then obviously you going into the Olympics in Rio, how was that?
So this time over, I absolutely loved it. Honestly, I really, really enjoyed the experience.
So you embraced the experience
Yeah.
this time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, going
Yeah.
to Brazil, what was that like?
It was a little bit. We weren't allowed to go anywhere because we were told it was dangerous, and it was this and that, and the village wasn't complete. You know, it was still like a building site. But I just really enjoyed being there and being a part of it.
Being part of obviously Olympic squad. What was that like being part of an Olympic squad? So obviously, people who are listening to this will not understand. Obviously, to be an elite athlete is one thing, but to be an elite athlete as part of an Olympic squad is huge. How was that?
Well, it's only now that it's over and I can say to people, "Oh, well, I'm a two-time Olympian," that it actually like means something. But there and then, it was just, "Oh, we're going to Brazil for the Olympics. Oh, I'm going with the people who I'm closest with." So it was just part of the experience.
Did your family come over to Rio to support?
Yeah, me mum and dad came out, which was nice.
Obviously, going back, like parental support, what were they like up until now, sporting through your amateur career? Because obviously, I think a lot of pressure comes from not pressure. A lot of parents put a lot on themselves and to help, don't they? How were your parents?
They've always been supportive. When I first started, when I was younger, I think that my mum just thought it was a bit of a phase. But once I started going, different countries and for different tournaments, Sweden, Turkey, wherever, my dad has followed me all over the world on his own as well. So my dad's really supportive, and my mum comes when she can. But yeah, they've always stood by me.
Which obviously is huge, isn't it, for anyone?
Yeah,
Like to
100%.
have the parental support, because we talk about athletes now and they don't have any support. And without it, you think you'd be where you are.
Yeah, because I'm the type of person where I don't really care about what other people think. If I want to do it, I'll go and do it. But there will be people out. I can see what you're saying, because there will be people out there. If the parents say no, the brothers and sisters or friends, then they'd probably be embarrassed to do it.
So, is there anyone? Obviously, we've got some questions coming in on Facebook, and people are asking about who's your biggest inspiration.
Well, growing up, it was Amanda Coulson. So I was quite lucky to come from Hartlepool, where probably the best female boxer in the country, the pioneer, so to speak, was Amanda Coulson, who was from the same town as me. So when I first started, I just wanted to be Amanda Coulson.
Trailblazer.
Yeah.
So obviously, if she's your inspiration, did you get an opportunity to meet her and speak to her?
Yeah, so when I got to about 16, 17, I started to get on the England squad when Amanda was already on there. So Amanda used to take me. We used to train, Liverpool. We used to train in Portsmouth, and I used to always catch a lift off Amanda. So I've become like quite good friends with Amanda.
So obviously, them were the special times for you traveling, just you and her. Obviously, wherever if you're in the car, train. What sort of chats did you have? Was it very much about boxing, or did you just get to know her on a personal level?
Well, I was still really quite shy, so I probably never had to use to speak, but she used to try and drag conversations out of me.
So you're not in awe, you're just quiet.
Yeah, I'm just quiet.
Yeah, I like that. So obviously, the other thing that really admired me, and obviously I don't know if many people know this, is while you were training, you came back to the college and did a foundation degree, which is obviously huge for anybody to come back to education. And Gary Neville's recently talked about this with obviously what we're going through at the moment in the pandemic, of people going back to education for when their careers finish. Was that your thinking when you did that?
Yeah, so this was between London and Rio. So this was when I was going through a bit of a tough time, thinking, oh, well, I've only got boxing. And Sean actually got in contact and said, oh, look, we're doing, the Hartlepool FE is doing a Teesside University course. And it actually worked out, it was on a Thursday afternoon. So it worked out perfect for me. It was like it was meant to be. So I'd come home from Sheffield and go straight to my classes at the FE. But yeah, I'm just so glad. I'm so glad I've done it, because then 4 years I realised I couldn't just depend on, my sport.
So obviously looking about that, because obviously you're looking at level 4 and level 5, which is really, how was the theory behind that helping you in your boxing?
So obviously from my college course, the university course was like the next step up. So you went into detail yet again about different types of training. Obviously, I've went through not I've had the same amateur coach since I was 11, since I started, but since I moved to America and come back and trained with other different coaches, I've picked up on all different coaching styles. And there's sometimes coaches say things to me, and I think, you shouldn't be talking to me like that. Or I've seen how other coaches, go on with other boxers, and I think, oh, you want to be careful there, because I've done the education on it, and I've seen what type of coaching and boundaries and the reason why we do things and nutrition. So it's like I've had like that extra step up.
So obviously that's something you would recommend to obviously young sports people who are in the industry. It's education alongside training, something you'd do.
Yeah, 100%. Like now, like I'm doing what I know I should be doing, whereas I know other boxers, because I've seen them online, thinking, oh, I can't train on my own, I don't know what I should be doing. Whereas I've got the knowledge and I've had the education to think, right, well, I've had 2 hard days, so I'll have to have a rest day now, or whatever, or I've got a lot of lactic acid, so maybe I'll just do a stretch session tonight, things like that.
How was it? How did you balance? Obviously, linking in. How did you balance your education when in the training camp? Because obviously, I know obviously assignments are due and things like that, and that's obviously a pressure, but also a pressure of winning boxing matches. So how did you balance the two?
So when I was on Team GB, we used to train 3 times a day. We used to train once. We used to run on the morning about 7. We used to do strength and conditioning about 10 or 11, and in the main boxing session about 4. So I used to try and get my coursework in either on a night or between my second and third session. So it was all just about time management, really. That's all it
Which,
was.
yeah. So it's just obviously for you was just managing your time,
Yeah.
doing the right things. But a lot of people find that hard. So I see me, it's massively admirable that you were willing, as you said, 2-time Olympian, to go back and put yourself in a classroom. That's fantastic. Did you ever find other people in your class helpful? Because obviously coming from different backgrounds.
Yeah, I made some really good friends. Really good friends. And a lot of them now work in the secondary schools in Hartlepool. So, they've always said, oh, if you want to come, get into education, you're more than welcome to come and, do a bit of voluntary at our school, or if you ever need anything, let me know.
Like we do, try to keep you on your toes and keep you involved.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So obviously you finished your education and you turned pro, and obviously you turned pro under the Floyd Mayweather promotion, and you made your debut at the biggest fight I think the world's ever seen money wise on the Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor undercard. But did you move to Vegas under that promotion?
Yeah, so after Rio, just missed out on another medal, and I just totally fell out of love with the sport. I felt like the scores for that medal winning match, just didn't go, leaning towards my favour again. And I just thought, I couldn't stay for another 4-year cycle. I just, like I said, I kind of fell out of love with the sport, so I was ready to walk away. But then I had an offer from Mayweather Promotions offering me a pro contract, and it was to move to America. So at the time, I thought, oh God, I could never pass this up. So I ended up moving to America, having me debut on that undercard, which was unbelievable. And then I was over there for 6 months.
How was that though? Did you go did you go by yourself? Were you lonely? Because obviously moving to Vegas is huge for obviously somebody so young. Did you have family go over? How did you find that?
No, so I basically moved out there on my own. And then this is when I started to really come into myself. It got to the point where I'd only ever see anybody when I went to the gym. So it was going 12, 18 hours without speaking to anyone. And then when I got to the gym, they couldn't shut me up. So I think this is when I started to, drop that shyness and want to learn more about other people and things like that. And then this is also when, that anxiety over boxing kind of just disappeared.
Do you think it was because it's such a challenge and you've come over them sort of challenges, living on your own in Vegas? That's what helped.
I think it was the point where I just thought, wow, how lucky am I? I'm 26-year-old. I'm living in Vegas. I've just made my debut on the biggest undercard, and I'm basically living the dream.
Did you see it? Did you manage to watch that fight?
So anyway, I learned quite quickly how dirty of a game pro boxing is, and I got given 2 tickets for that fight. But and I think something like 12 of my close family members and stuff came out to watch, but I was only given 2 tickets, so I ended up giving them to my mum and dad. And then when I got out the ring and got changed and went to walk back in the arena, they were like, "Well, you need a ticket." I was like, "I've just boxed." They were like, "Well, we give you 2 tickets." I was like, "It was for my mum and dad." So I didn't actually get to see that fight. I went and watched it in a casino over the road.
Wow, that's so like you just think, but that's amazing. And obviously, what happened at the end of that? Because obviously you came back to England, didn't you? And obviously you left that promotion and went to the Fury promotion. Is that right? Or you went training with the Furies? How did that come about?
So I ended up coming back home because, like I just said there, I learned quite quickly that pro boxing, it's just it can be full of broken promises. And while I was there, I trained for 3 fights that fell through, and just got to the point where it just wasn't worth my time being there. I'd never earned much money, so I ended up coming home. But previous to that, before I'd moved over there, Peter had actually trained me for my debut. So when I went home, I just went straight to Peter. I was like, "Look, Peter, I want to come home. Will you train me full time?" And Peter was more than welcoming, and he sort of like, "Yeah, you can come back and I'll train you full time."
So obviously you came back, and obviously looking at women's boxing now, the likes of yourself, Katie Taylor, Nicola Adams. How do you see women's boxing in the UK? Has it been developed, you think, over the last few years? Because you just talked about you've been to Vegas and you think about top boxers make money, and you're saying you didn't really make any money. How has it changed and developed?
It's because there's not much money in female boxing at all. It's not like the men's where there's hundreds of them in each weight class. And the women, you're lucky to get 20, 30, maybe even 40 worldwide. So there's not that much money in female boxing because the rivalry isn't as big. And I think there's only really 2 or 3 in the world that are actually making decent money. But that's just the way it is. It has moved on because now there's a female fight on nearly every card. Whereas before it was very rarely you'd get a female fight on.
Yeah, which obviously, I mean, obviously you look at the likes of Katie Taylor, obviously Nicola Adams, and yourself. You're breaking down lots of doors for other women. How do you find that?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think when I first started, I was the only female at my gym, whereas now, there's 3 or 4, and it's the same with most clubs, especially in the northeast.
In years to come, obviously people will be talking about yourself, as say Katie Taylor. You're the people that will be the inspiration for everybody else. How do you find that pressure?
Oh, that's not pressure. Pressure. That's just nice. That's just nice that people consider you as one of the pioneers of the sport, I think.
Well, obviously it's great, and obviously then you came home, and obviously I just want to link into the coaching style. Do you have a specific coaching style that you prefer to be coached, or is the different ones? Thinking about the different coaches you have, from Peter Fury now to Rob McCracken to the coach you said you had from an 11-year-old. What's the sort of coaching style you prefer?
So I'm very precise in what I do. Like if I set my mind to it, I won't stop till I do it. Whereas Peter's the type of coach now where I say to Peter, you only have to tell me once and I'll keep doing it till I get it right. Whereas I've seen many coaches and I don't like it that scream and shout at you. And there's been times when I've been screaming and shouted at by coaches And in my head, I've just thought, yeah, stuff you, who you talking to? And I'll just like blank them. Whereas if you just say, right, I want you to try and do this round, I'll keep doing it and challenging myself and carrying on till I get it right.
So do you think that's the rapport you build up with coaches, and they know you and they understand how to get the best out of you? Is that one of the things you want?
Yeah, because my amateur coach, Tim knows me inside out. Um, Whereas I'm still kind of, although I've known Peter for a couple of years now, we're still getting to know each other because I believe it takes a long time to know each other inside out. And there's times when I've said to Peter, look, Peter, I want to do it this way, or I'm not very happy with this. Can we change it? Or, and likewise, Peter said to me, oh, I don't like how he's doing that. Do it this way. So I
So
think
does he
keeping
involve
it
you in
quick.
that process?
Yeah, there's been times when he's been showing me things on the pads, and I think, Peter, that doesn't feel right for me. And he'll say, well, try it this way. What do you think? So we're always communicating and going over things.
Because obviously we probably have a lot of foundation degree students who are obviously might be watching this live or they'll link in later. Is that really, really important that you're involved in that coaching process?
Yeah, definitely. And without sounding big-headed, because I have got the education, I do, like, there's been coaches that have, had me, doing high intensity workouts for over an hour. And I know that doesn't work. And like I said, because I've got the education, so that works a lot in my favour.
I mean, I've seen some of the Twitter training sessions you put on Twitter when you're training with Hughie Fury. They look brutal. I mean, obviously boxing, if anyone's ever, I mean, I haven't done it myself. I've done a few rounds when I was training as a footballer, but myself, it's brutal. How would you push your body to that, like, far ends?
Well, I think because I did it from being 11, I'm just I'm just used to it. But I'm 28 now, and I only really started to see a change in my body from 26. I used to be really skinny. I didn't really have much muscle mass or anything like that. So I think that I started to mature quite late on, about 26. So now, because I can see visibly see the progress, I get a bit of a buzz from doing them types of workouts.
Because I say they're tough and which is good. And then obviously you've now just signed obviously with Eddie Hearn's promotion, obviously obviously he's the biggest boxing promoter in the country. How's he? What's he like with you with your career?
Well, I think it was a really good move for me because the thing with pro boxing, Eddie's got the shows. Like, Eddie has shows on nearly every other weekend, whereas other promoters will have one every couple of months. And for me, my pro career has been very stop start through no fault of my own. Like I said, I was in America for 6 months. That didn't work out. So I've always been fit and ready to fight. It just so happens that I've kind of been in the wrong place at the wrong time. So that was the reason we're signing with Eddie, because he has the shows, and because I'm getting to the point now where I've been boxing since I was 11, and I don't want to be carrying on doing it into my late 30s. I want to start to make, a little bit of money and a little bit of legacy for myself, and then crack on with the next phase of my life.
So obviously looking at the next phase of the boxing career is obviously becoming obviously the world champion and fighting Clarissa Shields. Is that something you really want? Is that something that you think might happen?
Yeah, definitely that'll 100% happen. Like I said, I was due to fight on April the 4th for a world title, but in true Savannah Marshall style, 2 weeks before, the world gets hit with a pandemic, and it's been pushed
Yeah,
further back. But that's just
that's obviously that's no fault of yours or no fault of anybody's. But obviously, will it be the world title first and then unification, or do you think it'll be let's just go straight into it after this?
Well, that's the thing. I was due to fight Clarissa at the end of the year, but with everything going on, and no one knows when sport's going to be back, so it might just get the point at the end of the year when I think, oh, let's just have it now. I've waited long enough.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously that fight's gonna be huge. Do you think that'd go to America?
No, that fight will be in the UK. But at the minute, Clarissa's a unified champion, and fair play, I'm not a world champion yet. So, like I said at the start, pro boxing's a business, and at the minute, I could probably fight Clarissa and get nothing from it. Where I can fight her being a world champion and being in 10 times the position that I'm in now. So that's why when you see two big massive fighters, sorry, and you think, oh well, why don't they fight? Why are they avoiding each other? They're not. They're just trying to get themselves in the best possible position they can.
I mean, I just on what you said there, and obviously people are just commenting. I love the way you didn't even think about it, but you went yet. You know what I mean? You are the way your ambition is. It's the yet world champion. Yet you have that in your voice. You just feel like you're going to be a world champion. I love that. That's class.
No thanks.
And then obviously thinking about obviously if that fight does happen, which will probably be, it will sell out and it'll be the main event. Which obviously that would take women's boxing to a huge level, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said about them being not that many women out there, and the fact that I have got a win over the two-time Olympic champion is massive for me. It puts me in a brilliant position, a position that no other female at our weight is in. So, and the fact that she's willing to come to the UK makes it even bigger.
So obviously, you win that fight, you become obviously a huge world champion. What's next then for Savannah Marshall? What does the future look like for Savannah?
Well, because I've boxed all my life, I know it's going to be really hard for me to walk away. But like I said, I don't want to be knocking on late 30s, still slugging away, because it's already taken a toll on my body. I've had like 2 major hand operations, a shoulder, an elbow, and I want to do. There's other things I'm interested in. I'd love to get me teaching certificate because I've got the degree. I'd love to push on for that. I'd love to travel. I'd maybe like to get into a bit of coaching myself. So there's loads of things that I'd love to do.
If you had one piece of advice for somebody, so if, let's say you had obviously young girls come up to yourself, what piece of advice would you give them?
You have to love it. You have to love what you do. You have to love. I hate running, but it's something I've got to do. But you've just got to love everything about it, because like I said, them 4 years between Rio and London, I wasn't interested in the sport no more. I think I was mainly doing it because I was getting paid and I had nothing else to do, and you could see that in my results. My results were always up down. Whereas now, I'm unbeaten and I'm absolutely loving the sport.
Well, I mean, obviously, we just had a great insight into your career, Savannah, and obviously, it's a great privilege to talk to you and obviously share your ambitions, your thoughts, and I'm really, really appreciative of that. Obviously, giving up your time. So, thank you very much, Savannah.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Savannah. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.